You're going to watch a man destroy himself in 30 seconds, and you won't be able to look away. The black SUV doesn't slow down, it speeds up. You can hear the engine revving, that deep growl of expensive machinery being pushed past what's necessary. The puddle stretches across half the street, brown water swirling with oil and yesterday's rain and things you don't want to think about. And there's a woman standing on the curb. Just standing there, grocery bags in her hands, white blouse, worn sneakers. She doesn't have time to move. The wave hits her like punishment. Cold slams into her chest, her face, soaking through everything. The bags drop, eggs explode on concrete. The bread sits there absorbing filth. And from inside the SUV comes laughter. Not embarrassed laughter, not, oops, didn't see you laughter. The kind of laughter that enjoys what just happened. The window rolls down, slowly, like he wants her to see his face. Lydia? That voice. She knows that voice. God, you look pathetic. Still shopping at Save Mart? Victor Hale, her ex-husband, still talking like she's beneath him, still treating her like proof of his superiority. Some people are just meant to struggle, he says, grinning at the woman in his passenger seat. Some blonde who thinks cruelty is charming when it's wrapped in a Rolex. Guess teaching doesn't pay like I told you. The window goes up. The SUV pulls away. Smoke from the exhaust. Taillights disappearing. And here's what you need to understand. At least 4 people film this. 4 different angles. 4 phones already uploading before Victor even reaches the next intersection. Lydia stands there, dripping, shaking, staring at nothing. Then she does something no one expects. She pulls out her phone, dials, waits. Julian, it happened again. Pause. You can hear rain. You can hear traffic. You can hear her breathing. I need you. 7 words. That's all it takes to start a countdown Victor doesn't know is ticking. Because here's what he missed. Lydia isn't who he thinks she is anymore. And that phone call, that just activated something he can't buy his way out of, can't charm his way around, can't intimidate into silence. If you've ever been underestimated by someone who thought you'd stay small, hit subscribe right now. Because what happens next is going to remind you why the people you step on today might be standing over you tomorrow. And you need to see how this ends. Let me show you how we got here. 5 years ago, Lydia woke up every morning in a penthouse that cost more than most people earn in a lifetime. Marble floors so cold they hurt to walk on barefoot. Windows overlooking Brookhaven's skyline. All those buildings sparkling like promises. And next to her, a man who measured her worth in decimal points. Victor Hale didn't just have money. He weaponized it. Why are you still teaching? He'd ask at parties, loud enough for everyone to hear. 30,000 a year? I make that. By lunch. She'd smile. The kind of smile that swallows everything you're actually feeling. Those kids need someone who cares. They need someone who can't do better. See? Here's what Victor understood about power. It's not about having it. It's about making sure everyone knows they don't. Every dinner party was a performance. Every introduction was a flex. He'd put his hand on her back, possessive, proprietary, and tell strangers, "She teaches 3rd grade. Isn't that sweet?" Sweet. Like charity work. Like a hobby for someone with nothing real to offer. For 5 years, Lydia absorbed this. The comments, the comparisons, the way he'd come home smelling like perfume that wasn't hers and act offended when she noticed. The way he'd forget her birthday but remember every investor's golf handicap. You know what's interesting? She never yelled, never threw things, never gave him the big dramatic confrontation he probably expected. She just left. One night, one suitcase, one ring left on the bathroom counter, still catching light from the city below. She took nothing else. Not the jewelry, not the car. Not $1 from accounts she technically had access to. Just her dignity. That's all she took. And Victor, he laughed when the divorce papers arrived. Actually laughed. Sent her a text. Good luck surviving on a teacher's salary. She never responded. Here's where the story shifts. Pay attention. Lydia moved into a 1-bedroom apartment in East Brookhaven. The part of the city where Victor wouldn't be caught dead. painted walls instead of marble, radiator heat that clanged at night, neighbors who knew her name. She went back to teaching. Really teaching. Not as some side project, not as something to fill time between lunches with other rich wives. She taught in schools where the ceilings leaked, where textbooks had the wrong president on the cover, where kids showed up hungry because breakfast was a luxury their parents couldn't always afford. And she was happy. Not in the loud way Victor demanded happiness look, not in champagne and vacations and things you could post about. In the quiet way, the kind of happiness that lets you sleep without pills, that doesn't require proving anything to anyone. The fundraiser happened on a Thursday. Some education charity gala her principal had somehow gotten them invited to. Lydia wore a borrowed dress, drank cheap wine, and spent most of the night standing near the wall watching wealthy people write checks they'd use as tax deductions. That's where she met him. Julian wasn't networking, wasn't working the room. He was reading. Actually reading the proposal she'd written about the school's literacy program, his finger tracing lines, his brow furrowed. "This is good," he said, looking up. "The phonics intervention section, you've tested this?" She blinked. "You actually read it?" "Why wouldn't I?" He had tired eyes. Kind, but tired. "I'm Julian. Lydia." They talked for 2 hours. Not about money. Not about status. About education theory. About poverty being structural, not moral. About kids falling through cracks the system pretended didn't exist. When the event ended, he asked for her number. "I'd like to hear more about your work, if that's okay." It was more than okay. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into walks through parts of Brookhaven tourists never see. Julian asked questions that proved he understood, that he'd thought about these things deeply, that he cared about the answers. He never mentioned what he did. And Lydia didn't ask. She assumed philanthropy, maybe. Education policy. Someone with resources who wanted to use them right. 3 months in, at her apartment over pasta she'd made from scratch, he told her. "My father is Edward Ashford." Fork. Stopped. Mid-air. Edward Ashford. The Edward Ashford. The man whose signature changed laws, whose name appeared on news broadcasts weekly, whose power was the kind that didn't need to announce itself because everyone already knew. "Oh," she said. Just, "Oh." Julian looked terrified. "Does that change things?" She thought about it. Really thought about it. Set her fork down. Looked at him. "Are you the same person you were 5 minutes ago?" "Yes." "Then no, it doesn't change anything." His exhale was visible. "Most people." "I'm not most people." She smiled. "And Julian?" "I've been married to money before. It didn't make me happy. You do?" They married 8 months later. City Hall, 20 people. A judge who finished in under 10 minutes. No press release, no announcement, no headlines. Lydia kept teaching. Kept living in that one-bedroom apartment because it felt like home and Penthouse didn't anymore. The only thing that changed was she went home to someone who saw her. Really saw her. Instead of looking past her toward something more valuable. And Victor? Victor never knew. Because Victor had stopped thinking about Lydia the moment the divorce finalized. Why would he check on someone who didn't matter? Now, back to the rain. Tuesday afternoon. Lydia stayed late helping a student struggling with reading. By the time she left, the streets were slick and dark. Water pooling in potholes, thunder rumbling somewhere over the city. She stopped at Save Mart. Yes, Save Mart. Because their produce was fine and she didn't need to pay extra for ambiance, and carried 2 paper bags that were already soaking through when she headed home. Riverside Avenue, waiting to cross. That's when she heard it. The engine, not slowing, getting louder. She turned, saw the SUV, saw the puddle, saw the vanity plate, Hail 1, and she knew. The water hit her like violence. Cold shocked through her skin. Mud in her mouth, her hair plastered to her skull. Everything ruined. Victor's window rolled down. "Lydia, is that actually you?" His voice dripped with fake surprise, the kind that means he's enjoying this. "God, you look terrible." "What happened? Life. After me not working out? His passenger, young, pretty, already laughing before he even finished the joke, leaned forward. Is this her? The teacher? The teacher, Victor confirmed, like it was a punchline. Still changing the world one snotty kid at a time, right, Lydia? You know what's interesting? She didn't respond, didn't defend herself, didn't yell. She just looked at him. Water dripping from her chin. Strangers stopping, phones already out, already recording. Some people peak early, Victor said, rolling his window back up. And some people peak in high school. You peaked before you met me. The SUV pulled away. Smoke. Taillights. Gone. 30 seconds. That's how long the entire interaction lasted. 30 seconds that were captured by 4 different phones, 4 different angles, 4 people who'd already hit upload before Lydia even caught her breath. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands. Julian, it happened again. I need you. His voice went sharp immediately. Where are you? Are you hurt? Riverside and 4th. I'm not hurt. Just, can you come? I'm already in the car. Lydia, what happened? Victor. 1 word. That's all she needed to say. By the time Julian arrived 15 minutes later, the video had 40,000 views. Someone posted it to Brookhaven Community Watch. Rich CEO humiliates woman on Riverside Ave. Anyone know who this is? Another angle on Twitter. Victor Hale from Hale Properties just splashed a pedestrian and mocked her. This is disgusting. The comments started immediately. Who treats people like this? Someone find out who she is. This man needs to be held accountable. Hale Properties just lost a customer. Julian wrapped a blanket around Lydia in the car. His jaw tight, his hands gentle. Are you okay? I'm fine. She wasn't fine. She was humiliated and angry and tired of being Victor's target even years after leaving. We can address this, Julian said carefully. Publicly, if you want to. Lydia shook her head. I just want to go home. But the internet doesn't care what you want. And here's where everything changes. If you've ever watched karma work in real time, drop a like right now, because what happens in the next 48 hours is going to restore your faith that actions have consequences. Stay with me. By Wednesday morning, the video had 500,000 views. Someone recognized Lydia from a school fundraiser. Someone else noticed Julian in the background of old event photos. Someone put it together. Wait, isn't that Julian Ashford's wife? The Julian Ashford? Edward Ashford's son. Oh my God, this man just humiliated the president's daughter-in-law. The national news network picked it up by noon. Video of billionaire Victor Hale publicly humiliating a woman has gone viral overnight. The woman has now been identified as Lydia Moore Ashford, wife of Julian Ashford, son of President Edward Ashford. The story exploded, not because of who Lydia married, because of the cruelty, the laughter, the casual way Victor treated another human being as beneath him. The video played on loop. Every channel, every platform, every group chat in Brookhaven and beyond. Victor's phone started ringing Wednesday afternoon. His PR team, his board, his investors, all saying the same thing in different ways. What were you thinking? Do you know who that woman is? Are you insane? Victor watched the video for the first time in his office, his face draining of color. I didn't know. I had no idea she married him. His PR director, a woman named Carol who'd been cleaning up his messes for 5 years, looked at him like he was a stranger. Victor, it doesn't matter who she married. You humiliated a woman in public. That's the story. But that wasn't true. It did matter, because it proved something everyone suspected. People like Victor never paid attention to anyone they considered beneath them. He hadn't bothered to check on his ex-wife, hadn't cared enough to wonder if her life had changed, hadn't seen her as human enough to deserve basic decency. The apology came Thursday, a live interview on NNN that his team arranged, desperate to control the bleeding. Susan Park didn't smile when he sat down. She was a journalist who'd built her career on not accepting bullshit. Mr. Hale, you've seen the video. What do you want to say? Victor's jaw worked. I want to apologize to Lydia. My behavior was inexcusable. I was having a difficult day. A difficult day, Susan interrupted, her tone flat. You were laughing in the video. Pause. Long pause. Victor's face doing complicated things. I wasn't thinking clearly. Were you aware Lydia Ashford is your ex-wife? Yes. And you chose to humiliate her anyway. Silence. The kind that fills the room, that becomes its own answer. Mr. Hale, this isn't just about one incident, is it? Susan leaned forward. Multiple people have come forward describing similar behavior. Employees, business partners. There's a pattern here. The interview lasted 12 minutes. Victor left looking smaller than when he'd entered. Like someone had let air out of him. Friday morning. Hale Properties lost 3 major government contracts. $40 million. Gone. Friday afternoon. 2 banks called in loans early. Reputational concerns. Friday evening. The board called an emergency meeting. Saturday morning. Victor Hale was removed as CEO. The statement was brief. Mr. Hale's recent behavior does not reflect the values of Hale Properties Group. Effective immediately, he is no longer with the company. Social media erupted. Hale karma trended for 3 days. People shared their own stories. Ex-partners who'd been belittled. Employees who'd been mocked. Everyone who'd ever been treated like they didn't matter by someone who had more money. The video became bigger than one incident. It became a symbol. And through it all, Lydia said nothing. Reporters camped outside her school. She walked past them every morning with the same polite decline. I'm here to teach. That's what matters. The silence was more powerful than any statement. While Victor scrambled to save his reputation, Lydia went to work. While he issued apologies that rang hollow, she helped third graders with multiplication. While his empire crumbled, she lived her life. 2 weeks later, Lydia gave one interview. Not to a major network, to a small podcast about education advocacy. The host asked the question everyone wanted answered. Do you feel vindicated? Lydia was quiet for a moment. Then, I feel sad. Sad. Sad that it took my connection to powerful people for anyone to care how he treated me. I was the same person getting splashed that I was when I was married to him. My worth didn't change because I married Julian. It was always there. People just couldn't see it. Pause. Let that sit. What do you want people to learn from this? That everyone deserves basic human dignity, not because of who they're connected to, not because of how much money they have, but because they're human. If you need someone to be important before you treat them with respect, you don't actually respect anyone. You're just calculating. The clip went more viral than the mud video, more than Victor's apology, because it named something everyone felt but couldn't articulate. The cruelty of conditional respect. 3 months later, Lydia launched the Moore Foundation, funded partially by Julian's family but driven entirely by her vision. Resources for underfunded schools, training for teachers in high-poverty areas, scholarships for students who believed education was their way out. The first school to receive funding, the one where Lydia taught. Victor faded from public view. Hale Properties recovered under new leadership. He sold his shares, moved to another city, tried to rebuild somewhere the spotlight couldn't find him. Some say he learned. Some say he didn't. Either way, he learned to be quiet. And that's the thing about people who build their identity on superiority. When it collapses, there's nothing underneath. No foundation, no core. Just the hollow sound of someone who never figured out how to be a person instead of a performance. Here's what you need to understand. This story isn't really about revenge. It's about something deeper. It's about the moment you realize we're all calculating worth based on proximity to power until someone reminds us that's exactly the problem. Lydia wasn't worth protecting when she was just a teacher. She became worth protecting when she married someone important. And that should bother you. That should bother all of us. Because the truth is, and this is the part that makes people uncomfortable, most of us are Victor. Maybe not in degree, but in kind. We measure people. We calculate whether they're worth our time, our respect, our basic decency. We decide who matters based on what they can do for us, who they know, what they're worth. And we don't even realize we're doing it. Victor's mistake wasn't just cruelty. It was believing the hierarchy he'd created was real, that some people actually were worth less, that he could treat Lydia like garbage because she taught third grade and he owned buildings. But hierarchies aren't real. They're just stories we tell ourselves to feel better about inequality. And every so often, something happens that reminds us the stories aren't true. Sometimes it's mud on Riverside Avenue. Sometimes it's something else. But the reminder comes. And when it does, you have a choice. You can learn from it. Or you can move to another city and hope no one remembers. Victor chose the second option. Lydia Moore walked through mud-soaked streets, carrying groceries and dignity in equal measure. Victor Hale drove past in a machine that cost more than most people earned in 5 years, threw filth at a woman he'd already hurt, and laughed while doing it. One of them rebuilt their life through service. One of them lost everything through arrogance. The difference wasn't power, it was character, and character is the only thing that survives when everything else gets stripped away. If this story changed how you think about treating people, really changed it, not just made you feel good for 15 minutes, leave a comment telling us about a time someone underestimated you. Tell us what you did. Tell us what you learned. Because your story matters too. Subscribe if you believe dignity isn't negotiable. Like this video if you think the way we treat people when they can't help us defines who we actually are. Share it with someone who needs to remember that the person you step on today might be standing over you tomorrow. Not because of who they marry, but because of who they've always been. The mud washed off Lydia's clothes in one cycle. The stain on Victor's legacy is permanent. Some prices are paid in public. Some are paid in silence. And some are paid forever in the space between who you pretended to be and who you actually were when it mattered. That's the price Victor's still paying. And that's the price we all pay when we forget that everyone deserves to be treated like they matter. Even when they can't do anything for us in return.